Hi, I'm Ross, and I'm here with my friend James, and today we are going to be talking about The Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad. That's an important distinction. This is the latest Suicide Squad movie. It's sort of a reboot, sort of a sequel. Not really one or the other definitively, but works pretty well as both.
Also, didn't James Gunn do this because Disney fired him from Marvel?
Yes, James Gunn was canceled on Twitter, which for some reason justified him being fired from Guardians 3. So he went to DC, did this, then got rehired at Marvel, and is doing Guardians 3 anyway.
So this is the famous Suicide Squad.
The story of the Suicide Squad is basically the same story as the first Suicide Squad. Group of supervillains get put together, sent on a mission by Amanda Waller. Secret, magical, alien thing is going on and they gotta stop it. James Gunn knows how to do team-based comic book movies pretty well at this point. In terms of characterization, this was a home run. And that is the core of the movie, is the characters, is the team. And thankfully, the team actually does have distinct personalities and abilities. And there is a real sense throughout the movie that they are actually becoming a team and learning to work together. But at the same time, everyone also feels extremely expendable, and James Gunn plays around with that a lot. Basically, it's everything I wanted the first Suicide Squad movie to be, honestly.
I think going up to an R rating, good idea, because you can pretty much do whatever you want.
For this particular brand, too. The violence in this is way bloodier and gorier than you'll see in, like, Ant-Man 3, obviously. It's hard not to compare the Suicide Squad movies, but mostly it's hard not to compare them because this one does everything right that the first one did wrong. It's much simpler, it's smaller scale until the ending where the villain is revealed, who is Starro in this. Fantastic representation of that, I think.
I call it Starro the Conqueror. That's meant to be derisive.
My main issue with the first Suicide Squad movie is that the squad never really felt like they needed to be there, or that each of those team members together made much of a difference beyond what a group of soldiers would be able to accomplish, and also they were surrounded by a group of soldiers. Whereas in this one, it's just the squad, they're immediately on the back foot. What really sold this story for me is that I think it would work as a story for a movie, whether the Suicide Squad were involved or not.
Yes.
That's a big thing. Because the only really interesting thing about the first movie in terms of the story they're going through is, oh, it's Deadshot and Harley Quinn and these colorful characters doing this. Well, I say colorful. This movie, if it were about a group of soldiers trying to infiltrate if this movie was about just a regular group of soldiers trying to infiltrate why can't I say Corto Maltese? Is that even a real place?
Your people have always been squeamish, but the sacrifice is necessary for scientific advancement.
I think what really holds this movie together and makes it better than just it's a bunch of funny characters having a good time and killing each other is that political undercurrent with the idea of American interference in foreign countries and taking military action to protect their own interests under the guise of protecting America and protecting the world. The only difference is that Harley Quinn isn't there at the time, honestly.
That is the only difference.
Yeah, Starro, that stuff's all there.
They cover it up easily, obviously, but Starro has been on Earth in the past. Just look it up. It's real.
This movie's actually a documentary.
It is.
I cherish peace with all my heart. I don't care how many men, women, and children I need to kill to get it.
The movie in general does move very, very, very fast, and there were a few points, mainly at the beginning, where it felt like it was getting just as choppy as the first one was at times. But once it gets into the actual adventure and it becomes more about the characters having to work together than what the characters have to do, that's when the movie really shines, and that's when the best moments come out. The camera work is very free-flowing and very movement-based, very kinetic, and I think that did a better job of capturing a sense of energy and motion than those ridiculous neon edits in the first movie.
Oh, I'm not gonna kill you.
Who is your favorite member of the squad?
Well, I can't say King Shark because obviously King Shark is a fan favorite, and Sylvester Stallone did an amazing job.
Bird.
We were worried for a second that he was going to die.
Oh, I was so scared. I was
I
terrified.
was like, you can't do it. You can't have King Shark's new friends just
King
kill.
Shart? What did you just call him?
At first, I wasn't really like sold on Polka Dot Man. But by the end, like, I really like just the small little arc that they gave Polka Dot Man.
Yeah.
But I will say the number one spot will go to Milton.
Has anyone got eyes or ears on any more?
They killed Milton!
Milton was still with us?
A lot of the characters felt more like bits than full characters to me at first, and then as it went on, they got more layered. I think my favorite one was actually Harley Quinn. This is the second Harley Quinn movie I've seen in a row where I absolutely loved her character, so I have done a complete 180 on how I used to feel, which is great because I love Margot Robbie. Harley Quinn alone works much better than Harley Quinn as the Joker's girlfriend.
Oh, definitely.
And the distinction between her character in this one and the first one is huge.
And killing kids, it's kind of a red flag.
Because everything is played so casually almost, everything is so matter of fact about the outfits and the abilities and the situations these characters are finding themselves in. Even when they encounter Starro and kind of figure out what's going on, they just kind of roll with it. And I like that. A lot of comic book movies seem almost embarrassed of the stories they're telling and do whatever they can to make it more grounded and realistic. Now I think they're starting to lean more into an outright, unashamed sci-fi comic book direction. And comedically, this is everything I want from comic book movies, which is just embrace it. There's a very joyful irreverence to everything that happens in this movie, to where you feel like anything could happen, anyone could die, anyone could betray the team. I think because all of these comic book universes are so intrinsically linked now, and you kind of have to keep up with it, it almost feels like homework. And it's nice to see a movie like this that exists in a bubble. Even though it's part of a franchise, it is, in many ways, a direct sequel to a movie that already happened. You could watch this movie blind and still get the complete story, though.
Oh, yes.
We're tired, Colonel. We need a rest.
Goddamn hobbyists.
I wish I'd seen this movie 5-7 years ago, because I would have loved it if I had. But as of now, it's a pretty solid movie that I enjoyed, and that's about all I can really say about it.
I really wasn't even planning on watching this until you asked me to.
Okay.
Like, even with the trailers, I was like, eh.
I think going forward, for me, it's going to be very dependent on who is making the movie. The fact that Matt Reeves is making The Batman makes me want to see The Batman, not just to see a Batman movie.
Once we're inside, we separate into teams.
I am walking back and forth.
Okay.
Nothing about the Suicide Squad really struck me as anything more than your average Marvel movie beyond they say f*** a few more times.
Hell yeah.
Many more times, actually. What really sticks out to me about this movie is just a lot of good jokes I found funny and a lot of fun characters I liked watching for a couple hours, and frankly, I never need to see any of these characters ever again. The only thing that really stuck out to me as weird and kind of out of place was the relationship between what's his name? Bloodsport.
Bloodsport
Yeah.
and Peacemaker?
No, Bloodsport and his daughter.
A style watch. You could watch TV on it.
Why would you want to watch TV on your watch?
I believe this movie was originally written with Deadshot in mind, and then they changed it to Bloodsport when Will Smith became unavailable or something. I like the idea that the squad doesn't want to be heroes and doesn't need to be, and the climax of this movie is basically them deciding to be superheroes. It works, it's a fun sequence, but I was a little let down in that regard because I felt like it would have been more fun if they were allowed to remain villains and have a little more moral ambiguity, because these aren't good people at all.
That's my dad.
I mean, if you cut that, you don't have much left for Bloodsport in terms of motivation beyond becoming a leader is kind of his arc. So they could have thought of, I think, something a little more distinct, and I wish they had, but it's fine. It's serviceable.
I told you I'd make you a leader, Dubois.
Ultimately, all I can really say is, it's good. Watch it. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
a fun adventure movie. It's a good blockbuster.
Recommended.
And also shout out to Viola Davis for consistently being the best actor in any scene she's in. The only scene that felt weird was that last one where she was like screaming and freaking out. That didn't really seem like Amanda Waller to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because Amanda Waller's whole deal is like she never cracks. You know, like any movie, there were a few choices I did not agree with. That does not sink a movie, in my opinion. Some scenes I would have done differently. but I didn't, so who gives a f***?
You were gonna save me?
It was a really good plan, too.
Any final thoughts on The Suicide Squad?
Drop the. It's more whatever the thing was from the Facebook movie.
Okay, if you're going to quote the goddamn movie, remember the quote. This year, the movie that I would most compare this to would be Godzilla vs. Kong, in terms of this is exactly as good as it needed to be. It is a good, fun adventure. That is all it's trying to be. That is all it is. On the bright side, it is not a clearly butchered piece of work like the first movie was, and clearly released in a form that does not suit how it was imagined or filmed. The main thing that really puts this over the edge is that Jared Leto is not in it. Jared Leto not being in a movie is really the greatest strength any film can have.